Hey, welcome back to TuckerAllen Live. It's Friday and it is 1 o'clock Central Time. So as always, we want to bring to you information about estate planning from the attorneys at TuckerAllen, and we're joined again by those attorneys. And welcome again back to Facebook Live.
Thank you so much, Scott. I'm happy to be here.
So, I was looking at the topic for today, and that is estate planning DIY. And I think everybody knows for years, you've heard television commercials, radio ads, you've seen banners on the internet about this particular, and there's plenty of them. I mean, you could Google it, DIY, do it yourself, and, $79 or $49 or, you always get what you pay for. And I was thinking, okay, DIY in advance of us talking about this was, hey, I'm getting ready to get on a plane on Monday. I might as well just watch a video on how to fly the plane and do it myself. Because, I mean, come on, anybody can do it. But my guess is they always say it's easier to take off than it is to land. So, hey, at least I can get airborne. But
that's the hard part.
Exactly. But I guess the question is, yeah, we could do anything. We could change our electrical panel. We can change our oil. But a lot of things can go wrong, and you probably don't do everything you need to. And it is, you get what you pay for, and you have to kind of take it with a grain of salt as to what you're paying for. And I mean, I guess you're agreeing, obviously, you're the one that's trained in this. You went to law school and you're practicing in that area. So DIY, is it a good idea? Does it depend? Talk about
that. I'm not going to say that it can't be done, because obviously there are some people who are able to accomplish it, but I would I would advise against just doing that. You said, you get what you pay for. You want to have someone who deals with this every day, who knows what they're doing, allow them to look it over, learn about the family dynamics, learn what your goals are. And also, we know what's kind of going on right now in the larger scheme of things with the, right now, I think it's called the American Family Act, that might be changing up some of our estate planning tools and the way that we use them, or like the Secure Act that came out last year. And those are just things that if you aren't aware of them, then that's going to leave a big, huge gaping hole in what you're doing. And most people just aren't aware of those things. And, I would say another thing is that a lot of my clients are, a significant percentage of them are other attorneys and financial planners and financial advisors. And I think that goes to say something whenever you have other attorneys that are coming in saying, you know what, this is not something that I want to handle by myself. Let me go to somebody that does it every day. I think that kind of says almost all that you need to say, because technically they should be able to do it by themselves. They went to law school just like I did. But they're showing up for me to do it for them. So I think that kind of tells you what you need to know.
Yeah. I mean, the easiest way for me to put it is DIY. I think at least my perception, I think it makes the assumption that all things are equal among all people and that one size fits all. And it doesn't in estate planning. And I think that's the unique nature. It's not an assembly line, where I'm building a Ford, and I'm particularly building a Ford Fusion. And that same Ford Fusion, the inside's the same, the outside's the same, and maybe I'm just putting a different color paint on it. It's not that way in estate planning, because the circumstances for each individual, I assume, are very unique, and you can custom tailor that plan to meet your needs, desires, goals, and objectives, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. So like earlier this week, one day I had meetings with 3 different clients throughout the day, and each one of them required something different. One of them was a blended family that required something different from the estate plan than it would if they were like one of the other people. They were a nuclear family that had been married for a long time, had a couple kids, and it was a little bit more straightforward in that sense. Had another one later on that same day where it was a couple, they've been married for a long time, but they didn't have any children. They had a lot of separate assets, and so everything is different. So each one of those requires something different from me, and our goals are different. The way we accomplish those goals are going to be different. So, sometimes we can say, you know what, we got a lot of separate assets going on here. We can really utilize beneficiary designations and still have the joint trust. There's lots of ways to accomplish our goals. But if we're trying to do the one size fits all, where it's like we've got this square peg that we're trying to shove into a round hole and say everybody gets a joint trust, that just isn't going to work for everyone.
Right.
Or just say, hey, everybody's getting like a blended family. You know, I've seen it before doing probates where it's a blended family. And what happens is the estate planning attorney that they had went to said, let me give you both of you a will where you give each other all of your assets at your death. And they have significant assets that they own individually. And it's like, oh my gosh, now your spouse, who is your children's step parent, is inheriting, you know, a lot of assets here, and they control them now. And is that really what that person wanted? Maybe it was, but maybe it wasn't.
Right.
So there's just a lot to think about and a lot that you have to be aware of.
I mean, there's no one there to explain the provision. What does it mean? What are you executing? How does it affect me? How does it affect my spouse? I mean, that's the point. When you're reading, no one wants to read a legal document and sign it necessarily, but you're so enticed. Oh my gosh, it seems so cheap. Well, there's a reason why it's so cheap, is because it's only worth the paper it's written on, and there's really no customization. And I mean, it's like, you know, you're going to go buy a suit. I mean, I love examples, you know me. I'm going to go buy a suit. I don't know really the size. I'm just hoping it fits. But I don't have an option to customize it to my needs. So I'm going to be either a fat man in a small coat, you know, and it's not going to look very good. But that's the point. And I think with all the constant changing, we all know, we've heard it, you know, this administration wants to change the rules as it goes, as it relates to the maximums and who's going to pay tax. I mean, good luck with that, because by the time you've made all the changes, they're not going to let you make modifications along the way. You got to go re-download, redo this, go add this paragraph. You're going to spend that kind of money, and which kind of leads me to, you know, the idea that, you know, we want individuals like you and your team over at TuckerAllen and work with a financial advisor to make sure you're considering the Secure Act or what's happening with the administration, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Now, you know, the way that we're doing our estate plans, now that we have new administration, it looks like things are going to change up. Yeah, the way that we do things now is different than it was even a year ago. So it's not that, right? We never want to be planning for a future administration, but what we do is we can create safeguards. We can create these safety rails within our documents to say, okay, if this does happen, we do have a path to take here. Because we don't want to create this whole plan and then have it not happen, but we do want to say, okay, we have a path here if this does happen. So that's one thing we can do. And just a quick example real quick from me on DIY stuff. I'm working on a probate currently. I'm not quite sure. I'm thinking it was probably DIY, but kind of the end of it all here is that I got a phone call from a probate commissioner this week that said, hey, we're rejecting this will. And I think we're still going to be able to accomplish the decedents, the person who passed away, their goals, even without the will. But it could have gone way, way, way worse. And, you know, there's formalities that are involved in these things that people don't always realize. And that was, you know, so you just have to be careful, right? Like, you can't have your notary serve as one of your witnesses. None of the witnesses can be parties that would be receiving any assets underneath the document. So there's just a lot of, you know, formalities you have to be careful of that you just might not catch. But for me, it's just something that I deal with every single day, and I don't think about it. But there's someone else, you know, you might not even know that this formality existed, and then you created what you think is this great document, and then the probate commissioner might look at that, or whoever it is, and they might say, well, this doesn't work. You know, we didn't meet the formalities here. This is a good plan, but we are not going to accept this. So it's just, you want somebody that deals with this every day looking at, because this is a big deal. This is a huge deal.
Right. I mean, they may have the best of intentions.
Exactly.
But at the end, you're not here. And now your example is great. And now, you know, you left the beneficiaries to kind of sort through this mess and stress out and whether or not what's going to cost me. You know, you spent $79 and now all of a sudden, if the judge rejects it, now it's got to go through probate or whatever. And now you've got statutory fees, and it's the amount of money you could have saved by just having it done right.
Absolutely.
You know, having that peace of mind, knowing that someone who's trained has walked you through that path and gotten exactly what you wanted, you know, for your beneficiaries and, you know, your heirs and the people you love. And it's so important. I think it's key.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Let somebody who does this every day look at this, make sure that it's right, you know, because it's so important. This is your beneficiaries, it's your life's work. Let's make sure that what's happening with it is really what you want.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at it, yes, it is definitely more than $79 to do that, right? But
Oh,
the point
absolutely.
is that, you know, my age, your age, I'm spending that for the next, 30 years. And so
Yeah.
if I just, look, I get it, it's an investment, but it's an investment of peace of mind and security. And I tell my kids, hey, I got it done. And I give them a copy and I said, now it's all good, which brings up, which I every time, and I bring up the legacy protection program that you
Hmm.
offer at TuckerAllen, which kind of goes hand in hand. It's either I got to go online and go do a DIY completely, but I still don't get the guidance and review that your program offers, which essentially just let's take the new administration changes the limitations. So
Hmm.
now you can have someone come in if they're a member of this legacy protection program. You can review it with them and talk about, hey, here's what we should or shouldn't do. This doesn't affect you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's what that's there for. Is let somebody like me or another attorney let us sit down. We're going to review your documents for an hour or so.
Mhm.
Then we'll have a phone call, or meeting, whatever is appropriate for you, and we're going to go over stuff for about an hour and say, okay, this is what's happening right now in the world. This is what your plan is doing. Does this all still work for you?
Right.
So, and yeah, I think it's very much so worth it. Like you were talking about, it might be cheaper. I can guarantee one thing: you're going to pay either way. It's just whether it's kind of up front or on the
Yep.
back end. It's up to you to decide where you want to make the payments. But yeah, if you don't do it right on the front end, it's going to cost a lot of money because now you actually have to have an attorney who's billing an hourly rate and there's statutory fees and everything else going into that. The cost on that can add up,
Yep. You can
pretty,
choose to build
pretty
your
quick.
house on sand or rock. You
Yep,
pick. I mean,
exactly.
sand is certainly cheaper, but we know what's ultimately going to happen with a shifting house like that. And we put it on a good foundation. And that's what the whole idea that Tucker Allen does is let's create a great foundation for the future.
Absolutely.
Well, again, thanks. I know DIY is tempting. I know, that that's a low price, but again, there's a reason for it. And, it is what it is. And maybe it serves a purpose, but for some, but honestly, I think it's worth a consultation with someone like you just to see if that's an appropriate spend for them and give them
Mhm.
the alternatives. So I appreciate the time, Kevin, as always.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
So if you want more information about this legacy protection program, we talk about it all the time in our Tucker Allen Live segments. And that is just go to the website at TuckerAllen.com. You don't have to be a previous client to go ahead and join the program. It's something that certainly gives you the opportunity to review your current plan, or when you have one done, it gives you some protection on the back end to have an annual review. And when life changes, it comes with some complementary changes to your estate plan. So you don't have to worry about going back online to a DIY and redoing the whole process. So get more information. And of course, if you want to schedule a consultation with Kevin or the other attorney at Tucker Allen, just go online, TuckerAllen.com. Don't even have to pick up the phone. You can schedule it right there on the website. But if you prefer, you can go ahead and give them a call. But go to TuckerAllen.com. Consultation is the best way to kind of talk about what's available to you and what's appropriate under your circumstances. So until next Friday, have a wonderful weekend. We're going to be right back here on Fridays, 1 o'clock Central, Tucker Allen Live, right here on Facebook. Have a good weekend.